And good evening, and welcome to Love and Stuff. I am Marcus Holmes, your facilitator, and I want to invite you to click, share, and tag some folks to join us in tonight's discussion. Join us in tonight's discussion. I'm so glad that you could join us, and I hope that you will click share. Hello, Kim Wilson. Thank you for joining us. Click, share, and tag someone to join us in the discussion. I'd love to get your input, garner your input on this discussion. All right. While you're clicking share, tagging some good folks. Are you ready for love? Hi, I'm Marcus Holmes, the facilitator of the Love and Stuff community, and we're ready for you to join us on the next episode of the dating game. Forget all of the social distancing, and personal, online, and who knows, you might make a heart connection that will lead you to a private Zoom room date. Inbox me now at Marcus R. Holmes or at Love and Stuff for your opportunity to connect closer while we are so far apart. Stay safe and be well. And welcome again to Love and Stuff. And so I'm clicking share to tag some folks to join us in the discussion. I hope you will do the same. I see Kim Wilson, Ann Lewis, Cynthia Sammy. Thank you all for coming and joining. And we will go into the topic momentarily. But I'd like to have you just click share, tag 5 of your closest Facebook friends, 5 of your more popular Facebook friends to join in this discussion of this topic from inbox discussions. You know, here on Love and Stuff, we find great pleasure in interviewing great guests around love and stuff, love from the creator, love of self, love of your neighbor, right? And it has brought us great interviews, but we also take topics directly from the inbox and from inbox discussions that we have. And so tonight's discussion is again from the inbox, and it is relevant in this environment to some degree. And I'm hoping that you will chime in and provide your perspective so that others that might be listening might gain some perspective from you. We hope in the Love and Stuff community that at the end of the day, everybody gets some information about ways in which you can up your love game. That's what it's all about. Hello, Mahasan Pierce. Thank you for joining. I hope you will click, share, and tag 5 of your closest Facebook friends, 5 of your more popular Facebook friends to join us in the discussion. Thank you, those that are on YouTube events, those that are on the Marcus R. Holmes page and the Love and Stuff page, and even those that may be on Twitch TV. I'm going to take a quick look as I ask for you to click share and tag some folks to join us in the discussion. Just going to see comments across platforms if I can, and we'll go from there. All right. So I'm going to go right into the topic. Hopefully the topic will soon be pinned by our senior associate producer, J. Gerald Harvey IV. And if you are interested in joining me live, he will be able to provide that link in our comments so you can come live on Love and Stuff and discuss the topic. I'm so excited, I can hardly get the words out. Well, excited relatively, but I want to invite you, if you haven't already, to click share and tag 5 of your closest Facebook friends, 5 of your more popular Facebook friends to join in the discussion. All right, so I'm going to go into the topic, and I hope that, yes, all right, very good. All right, going right into the topic. Oh, good. It is pinned. Thank you so much. Our senior associate producer has pinned it. And if you'll just drop in the comments that you are here and where you are from. I'm not seeing everybody in comments, but I'm certainly excited that you are here with us. And I hope you will click share and tag someone to join us. Help, she says. My husband considers himself a Black conservative, and I am more of a progressive Democrat, she says. Over time, and especially now, we have serious disagreements. Well, he and our liberal Democratic son almost came to blows over a discussion about the current president. I told him that I thought it was stupid to get that upset, and he told me not to go and F up a good marriage over Joe Biden. Married for 22 years and together for 24 years. Our son is 19. So she's having these disagreements with her husband. And I know in just having some inbox dialogue, which I tend to do sometimes around topics, people wonder how you can get to 22 years and have such different views politically. I believe that that can happen for a number of different reasons. And it's not always because you've never had any conversation about political views. But I think what we have seen, at least in these last 4 years, is we have seen an uncovering of people who have become entrenched in their party's rhetoric, potentially. And so there were some that would say, regardless of whatever Joe Biden has done or Senator Harris has done, that Democrats are just going to vote for them because we're Democratic. I, by the way, am mostly Democratic, a Democrat. And people say that even though we have seen not only in ineptness, but in incompetence in this current administration, that people who are Republican are going to be diehard Republicans. So I want to first ask, before we delve into that topic all the way in, do we have people here that you are Democrats? Give me thumbs up if you don't mind sharing that information. And I'm going to take one for the other team. If you're a Republican, give me a heart. So Democrats, thumbs up, Republicans, hearts. No lack of love here for either side. Okay. No, there are a few people. Again, if you just drop in the comments, hey, I'm here, that'd be great. Give me some likes if you're Democrats, some loves if you're Republicans. And then my next question is, would you marry someone who was a staunch member of either party? So Mahasan, I want to ask you then, because you say you are neither or neither. Maybe you lean more to independent. I'd like for you to come on and talk with me. Now my screen is shaking. I hope it's not shaking there. For a second there, maybe wonder if we had an earthquake. Okay. This term I am Democrat. Mahasan, J. Gerald, see if you can, did I send you the, let's see if I can put the link in. Help me, Holy Ghost. I want to ask you, Mahasan, if you'll just join me for a moment. And while I do that, we have an event coming up on October 30th. October 30th at 7:00 p.m. It's called She's Cooking Something. And we will have the link and all of that stuff available within the next day so that you can join us. It is our first online paid event. And 4 of our Love and Stuff angels are participating in this event. And I'm just going to show you, so you get to see Cheryl Swacker O'Neal, Tabitha Goodner, Valencia Etner, who is known as Mama V in this wonderful community, and Master Chef Season 8 finalist Yashika Holston, who's also been wonderful and been in our community as well. So I just want to show you a little bit about them, and so that you will be able to hopefully support us in our first online paid event.
Look at how we interact with each other in terms of conflict resolution. Sometimes we don't let people off the hook. They're wrong. Yes, they're wrong. They're absolutely wrong. They had no business violating your principles the way they did. And receive. Look at how we interact with each other in terms of conflict resolution. Sometimes we don't let people off the hook. They're wrong. Yes, they're wrong. They're absolutely wrong. They had no business violating your principles the way they did. But we don't even let people get a good apology out because we don't have there's no salt. We want to execute judgment. He says, no, have some salt within yourselves so that when you have disagreements, you have a covenant relationship that reminds you that this ain't about you executing justice. This is not about you obliterating somebody because they're wrong, because you're wrong before God. I have a hard time moving beyond hurt, especially a real deep hurt, where everybody knew that your heart got broken and you got messed up in it. It's hard for us to bring ourselves to even do the Christian thing of forgiving. You will know the favor of the Lord and receive a harvest for your seed. I'm not suggesting that we are not human, but we are. We are human with human thoughts and emotions, but we have to guard against wallowing in our conditions. If we find ourselves having sleepless nights because fear is gripping us, if we find ourselves unable to think about anything else, we run the risk of hanging out in the depths of trouble too long. And then we'll get comfortable right there. Because the truth of the matter is many of us don't know how to move out of it because we haven't really learned how to press. We don't really want to worry. We want to operate with trust, but we can't. That's what you do. Make sure you always have enough to share. And so I understood that if I had nothing, because she was a pretty modest living lady, if I had nothing, I could make a pot of something and share it.
Chica.
Yes, sir.
Oh, that looks like a gazpacho.
Yes, sir. So I'm making a white gazpacho with white grapes and spicy grilled shrimp.
Okay, cool.
This came to me in a dream, and I've always told my children to live out their dreams. Go big or go home.
So that's just a little preview of what you will get if you sign up and attend the She's Cooking Something that's happening next Friday, October 30th on Angels Night. Love and Stuff has its own angels, and all four of our angels will be with us. Cheryl Swacker Conneal, Tabitha Goodner, Valencia Etner, who is Mama V, affectionately known in this Love and Stuff community, and Master Chef Season 8 finalist, Yashika Holston. You don't want to miss it. The link will be available so that you can purchase your ticket. It is a ticketed event. It will be online. There will be prize giveaways. I think you're going to have a great time. I hope that you will support us. It's our first live online paid event, and we're just excited to be able to host it. And for more information, you can inbox me, or you will see some advertisements happening throughout this week and next. And I hope that you will share that content widely. All right. Thank you all for joining us. Hello, Noah Williams. Hello, Rena Hinton. Hello, Eric Powell. I hope you will click, share, and tag some folks to join us in the discussion. We're talking about a split between parties, not only the Republican and Democratic Party, but between two parties in a relationship. And what do you do if you are considered staunch Republican or you're considered staunch Democrat and you're married to or are in relationship with someone of the opposite party? And that's straight from our inbox, what we are discussing today. If you'd like to come live and talk with me, I love that. But in the meantime, if you will click share and tag 5 folks to join us from your circle of influence, 5 of your more popular friends to join us from your circle of influence, we can include them in this discussion. I want to know, what will you do? What would you do? And so from our inbox topic, which is pinned, I believe I'll just double back to it once more. Help, she says. My husband considers himself a Black conservative, and I am more of a progressive Democrat, she says. Over time, and especially now, we have serious disagreements. Well, he and our liberal Democratic son almost came to blows over a discussion about the current president. I told him that I thought it was stupid to get that upset, and he told me not to go and F up a good marriage over Joe Biden. Married for 22 years and together for 24 with a 19-year-old son. So he's new in the voting process. As a matter of fact, this is his first time voting since, coming of age. And so I want to ask you, what would you do in the situation where you and your spouse are just not seeing eye to eye politically? Would that matter if it had not mattered to this point? And one of the things I raised earlier is that maybe because people say, hey, they've been married 22 years, how come this is just coming up? But I think in this environment, and I don't know if you'll agree, give me some likes if you agree, in this environment, people have kind of become entrenched in their positions in either party without regard to what candidates are doing or saying, right? There are some Republicans that are going to vote along the party line without regard to what is considered by many the ineptness of this president and incompetence of this president, right? There are still some people that are saying, go Donald, go Trump, or whatever their slogan is, right? There are some people who are raising major concerns around the crime bill and a career-long politician, that these are negatives that count against Joe Biden and Senator Harris. But there are Democratic people who always vote Democratic. So I want to talk to you a little bit about that. Jonathan Kirkland has joined us. David Carter has joined us. Eunice Hunter has joined us. I got cousins in the room. Thank you so much. In case I need to fight my way out. No, this is love and stuff. Well, the stuff does mean that you might have to fight your way out of some stuff. Mahasana says some truth to that. And so I wanted to talk to you about a number of things, this inbox topic, right? Whether or not, should a marriage be in jeopardy about political views, even if your views evolve over time, because people do evolve over time. Is there something more to it or is politics enough? And the reason I ask that way is because I have seen family and friends, and not marriages yet, but I've seen boyfriend and girlfriend relationships where people are on social media and they are going ham against people that they had heretofore professed to love. And so because they feel so passionate about it, I want to ask you, is that enough reason for people to say, I'll break up a relationship if you vote for the wrong person? Even though, I offer this kind of devil's advocate. Even if I said, I'm voting with you, babe, when I go in to vote, who actually knows who I'm voting for, right? So I want to talk about that. Then I want to talk about, however you may call it. I call it Johnny come latelys. Now, don't get me wrong. People can make a decision or change their mind. That's a part of this democratic process. I find it interestingly strange that we have these entertainers such as 50 Cent and Ice Cube, bless their hearts. I must admit, I never followed Ice Cube, and I'll maybe get into that in a second. But I do like Power and some of this. I'm not a rap person particularly, but I do like Power. And I've got some challenges as to whether or not, because I kind of feel like what 50 Cent is saying is, I'm a very rich man, and to heck with you. I'm not going to have taxes up the wahoozy. Hello, Darren Smith. Thank you for joining us. Yeah, I think that's big cuz I don't think that's Noah Bibbs, but okay. I think that's foolishness. I don't want to lose anyone over politics. I appreciate that. I know that there are people that are not speaking who, like I said, heretofore were great friends. Okay. And there's some breaking news that the president abruptly ended his interview. It showed you have been brainwashed because there's no difference between you like the Lakers and they like the Celtics. It's just a political difference, not a lifetime fallout. But you know, people are so I think you're right. I don't know if it's brainwashed, but I think we've become entrenched. I think people, because there is this thinking that this president has done quite a lot wrong. And there is this disdain, I'll use that word, for people who seem to be covering him without regard to that. Now, you saw I don't know if you saw today was my first time seeing this big ad running about Republicans against Trump. There's a campaign ad on TV. They're saying Republicans against Trump. Today was my first time seeing it. I was like, what the what? But besides that, you do not hear people coming out and saying, not a lot of people coming out and saying, this was a misstep, that was a misstep, that was a misstep, that was a misstep. And on the Democratic side, there are people, you know, who, without regard to what you're going to say about Joe Biden, they're going to, you know, stick with them. Now, I'm not a basketball fan, but I am a baseball fan, and there was a time you couldn't, and football, but there was a time you couldn't tell me anything about the Tigers, right? And the Boston Red Sox, I did not like. So probably there would be, David, you're right, a similar relationship, but why people are so entrenched and losing relationships, is it worth losing your marriage? Valencia Edner is here, and I think, Mama V, you missed my little commercial that I made for the 30th, but I'll have you come on just so that people get to see you in real life, so that maybe people that haven't followed us in Love and Stuff get a chance to see what they're going to get for our first paid online event, for which I am so excited, as you might guess. All right, so I'm glad you're here. And Mahassan says people have gotten so wrapped up in the news and politics that they have gone stir crazy. I think this environment has made us stir crazy. Now, I don't like to admit on camera that I'm crazy. So let me say it this way. I think it has compressed the amount of sheer genius that is unbridled in me. And so this pandemic, along with these racism coming to a head and all the missteps along the way, have made me find it hard to understand how people could support Donald Trump. Now, I've had some pretty spirited discussions, but not any yet, and I don't expect to have any, not any yet to the point where I'm saying, you know what? I don't mess with you. And y'all know the real word that people would use there. I haven't had to unfriend anybody, but I did have to inbox somebody and say, now you at the line of me saying, I'm going to not only snooze you, I'm going to lose you, because, and he's a Caucasian brother, great brother, but what he was saying, what he did was called, he basically said that these defacing of statues that reflected slave owners and people in our history that may not have been done well to African Americans was similar to slave uprising. Now, yeah, I had some real issues with that, and he doubled back to correct it, but it didn't correct well. So I inboxed him kindly and said, hey, I respected you to this point, but you're gonna have to do something different about talking about slavery in a way that makes it seem like that we're going back to that, because we're never going back to that. And as long as I live, we're never going back to that. I did not mean to convey, I'm sorry. And he kind of tried to do a retraction and I just snoozed him. I did the snooze. So, but I don't think, because I wasn't pushed there, but I don't think that the conversation or his ideology could have gone to a level where I would have been like, I'm going to unfriend you. But maybe so. And it's someone that I've known him for the better of 20 years. And so that's, not a good feeling to maybe awaken and say, there's some things about you maybe I didn't know. I was a little nuts before the pandemic. Okay, Mahasana, I'm gonna take what you say. Okay, yes. If people want to throw you away over a political difference, then they do give a crap about you, David, or are you saying they don't? And I'm gonna, my senior associate producers working hard overtime. I love them. I gotta get you I want you all to come join me live. I think this is great commentary, and I'd love for you to come live and have some discussion with me. So in just a moment, I'm going to drop the link. Our senior associate producer is going to provide you that link, and I hope that you will join us. Please do. Join us here live. Okay. It's moving a little slow, J. Gerald. That's why I was trying to play the commercial. Okay. So I want to hear from you. I really do. And J. Gerald is going to drop the link in the comments for you. Thank you for those of you that are on YouTube, and I'm working on that because a lot of our YouTube, some of our YouTube folks are from overseas. So I think everybody is watching America, and sometimes it doesn't feel good. I was saying your social producer. I just sent it. Thank you, sir. It doesn't feel good to hear people from other countries. I talk with colleagues in HR in other countries, and it does not feel good, the things that they have to say about our country. And these are not things that they had to say before. Some of them say, I've never seen anything like it. And so back to the part of the topic where when you are in a relationship and you don't understand, you're finding it hard to understand where your partner is coming from, where their thinking is coming from, where there may be a shift of what you believe are their values or beliefs. How do you handle that? Maria Nelson has joined us. Thank you so much. I'd love for you to join us. Stacy Simone has joined us. Thank you, brother, for coming. I hope you will click, share, and tag someone to join us. J. Gerald, if you can drop that link in both the Love and Stuff page and on the Marcus R. Holmes page, I would appreciate it. I know maybe I can drop it on the Marcus R. Holmes. I don't know. But I'm gonna make sure you get the link so that if you want to come join me live, you're welcome to do that. A couple has been married 22 years and together 24, were in a pretty heated disagreement around the current president, and have had several serious discussions. He is what she calls a Black conservative. She is what she calls a progressive Democrat. And they have a 19-year-old son who is the most liberal, she describes him. And he and his dad almost got into a fisticuffs, which I thought, wow. But it isn't, unfortunately, uncharacteristic in this time where people are unfriending each other and people are, I'll never speak to you again. Now, I believe if someone disrespects you, first of all, I believe you have the right to unfriend anybody. I believe if someone disrespects you, you certainly should put some distance in between that disrespecting you. And sometimes that means that you have to do more than snooze somebody, you have to lose somebody. I get that. I'm just wondering if you are in a relationship, to David's point, does this question the very fabric of your relationship, or Do our beliefs around religion and politics go so deep that we have to really work harder at understanding those that are different than us and who oppose us? You know, we talk in this environment a lot about the lack of diversity, inclusion, and belonging, which are really sounding like HREs, right? But when you look at the federal judges, you don't see Black judges. You see some Black people in the cabinet who had no business being, in their position. You're a neurosurgeon, figure that, you're over HUD. So got all kind of things happening, right? You kind of wonder when you're trying to understand somebody else's position, you try to find a common place so that you can at least have some perspective. And I'm wondering, for those of you that are in relationships, do you find it difficult to find commonplace with people that are different than you? You know, we're raising diversity and inclusion and belonging, that's HREs, but really diversity and inclusion and equity, right? And largely supporting that fulcrum is somebody's ability to understand someone that's unlike them and to have an appreciation for the differences, right? That's what we're fighting for, right? That's what people are standing up for. It's long overdue for people to have diverse organizations and diversity in thought and diversity in ethnicity, right? Black people, indigenous people, people of color, right? And that there will be equity, not just equality, but that there will be equal access and equal playing ground and equal footing, right? And that very thing we might have some trouble with, we being people that are on opposite sides, of finding the things we have in common and then evaluating the differences and appreciating them. I will admit, it's hard to appreciate some of the foolishness that I've seen and heard over the last 4 years. And I work to try to find out, where does this come from? Is there some history of something attached to it? What is this? What have we happened ourselves into? This has been one reality show with no season break. It has been constant Twitter reality show, right? And yet there are people who say, and this has been the best reality show ever. I'm making more money, I'm happier, Black people have more than they've ever had. Now, some of these things are not quite true, but people are, offering these as real perspectives. And so it's sometimes difficult to have that conversation, right, with somebody who you think doesn't really understand the issues at play. So I want to hear from you. If you'll come with me live, how do you advise that we handle that? Karen Poole, Kimberly Nance, thank you for tagging people. There's a lot of weird things going on in this administration. I've tried on a few occasions to understand Trump and his ideology. I just can't. Where are these people living? Polarization is as pandemic as COVID. Wow, that's great. Mama B, I hope that you will click share. I mean, click share while you're clicking, because you didn't click Karen Poole at her end, him, her. But I'd like for you to come live with me. I hope David Carter is still hanging around. Sometimes he weaves in and out, but I'd love for you to come live. And I think Jay Gerald has, yes, placed the link on, I see it on the Love and Stuff page. There we go. What a fantastic producer he is. That's why he's the senior associate producer. Okay, so I'd love for you to come live. What would you say to this wife? I think that's, I think her feelings were hurt, of course, that, that might hurt, feelings. Wow, the Esther Smith has come in. Wow. Esther Smith, I could just turn it over and let you sing. I don't know. The Esther Smith. Wow. The Esther Smith. Wow. It's in the comments, Mahasan. It's in the comments. Tamara Gaines has joined us. Thank you so much. I got hung up. I got starstruck for a minute. The Esther Smith came in. And so I want to know from you, is it, is this politics and religion too deep even for marriages? I mean, if you're married and you evolve, let's say you evolve, let's say you start early on and you both are just, you're moderates, or you vote who you think the party, is, I know, Valencia, I'm just, wow. You vote who the party, who the candidate is. You like this candidate. Yeah. Mahasan, I keep going off topic, but Esther Smith is the voice of it. When I think of anointed voices coming up as a younger person, because I'm still young, she was the anointed voice, someone that you really walked away from her gifting and ministry, knowing that she lived what she sang about. That power had to come with a cost. Just a powerful woman of God. So I am, I'm humbled and honored that she happened through. Whatever brought you, I'm just humbled and honored that you've come through. But I'm wondering, if you start off and you both just vote for the candidate of your choice and you evolve to align yourself more with the party, even if that does happen, is that worth the turmoil of a strong relationship or marriage? I mean, I know my thoughts and ideology around religion and around politics run deep. It feels like they're deep in my DNA. That's how deep they run. But I work to, I won't say make sense of, but I work to understand what the other person who is very different than me is thinking, as long as it doesn't become disrespectful. Valencia Etner has joined us. Thank you so much for joining us, Mama V. How are you?
I'm good. I guess I should let people see my face. Let me figure that out.
That would be great, seeing that we have this wonderful, she's cooking something coming up. There you go. This is Valencia Etner, who you can catch every Tuesday morning on the Encouragement Thriving Tuesdays. You can catch her there, and you'll get to catch her with She's Cooking Something. Now, I don't know if she'll be cooking anything, but she'll be giving you some ingredients and recipes that are going to give you some good life meals. You need some life meals for your bones. She is a pastor in Houston, Texas, and thank you for being here with me today. You're always just so available. I appreciate it. And so I'm really excited, while I'm making the second commercial, about having you on the She's Cooking Something, because I believe that there's a lot on the table, and some of it women probably shouldn't eat. And so I am excited for what we can expect from you and Tabitha and Cheryl and Yashika. And no disrespect to any of their titles, I just happen to know and love them all, and they might let me get away with just calling them by the first names. But I had to get that in there just in case we won't just. I said I couldn't debut with anybody other than debut our first paid online event with anybody other than our Angels Within Love and Stuff. So, all right. So Valencia,
Yes.
Mama V, as beautiful as you are,
Can you hear me?
if you're, I can hear you, but it was like intermittently going in and out. So I don't know what happened. See, like right then, I didn't hear you.
Okay, that was the computer.
Now I hear
Something crazy. Can
you.
I
Okay.
just Esther Smith for one moment? Can I just say yay? Okay, okay, I'm better.
Yes. I was too, it threw me off. I could, I need a teleprompter so that I can get back on point. But okay, let's say you get married. Let's say you are dating a gentleman
Mhm.
because you're single. I want the only the really good brothers to know that
I
you're
think
single. Don't flutter in by. So you're single. You meet a guy. He says, "Hey, I'm voting for Trump." what happens when a guy tells you that?
I think my first question would be why?
Mhm.
And I'd have to hear the depth of the ideology. If it was
Mhm.
just, for example, if it's just economics, I got an issue there because the love of
Mhm.
money is the root of all evil. And if you are
Mhm.
able to deal with the other stuff all because it's going to get you another dollar, ain't no
Mhm.
God in that. So it's hard for me in that. But if they can
Mhm.
literally find something that I don't see and
Mhm.
they can quickly explain that to me, then we might be able to
Mhm.
continue the conversation. But if it's just the same stuff I keep hearing about, well, the Democrats ain't never done this and the Democrats have always taken us for granted, so why not? That's not that doesn't line up with me. There has to be one party that's closer to your ideology. And there may be somebody who says, the stand of the Republican Party, conservative wise, because most
Yeah.
people don't really recognize that as African Americans, we're really not liberal. Not typically. I mean, not churchgoers aren't really liberal, but we do believe in helping others.
Right.
So we turn kind of our eye away from some of the things that we don't line up with it faith wise, because we know that ultimately doing for others and making life better for others is more important to us than we feel like all the rest of that's individual, but what are you doing collectively? But there are those who really
Yeah.
believe
I
that.
want
Go on, go on, go on. You could.
I just want to jump in the comments real quick because Stefan Jackson says economics, you need finance to survive, exposure of corruption, originally Republicans. And so I just want you to speak to that a little bit. You would, need finances, but I think what she was saying, Stefan or Stefan, I may be mispronouncing it, that in and of itself, I don't think it overrides all of the other things that we've seen in this administration. And it isn't truly, purely true that all Black people are doing better. I think I'm insulted to hear that, number one, but it just isn't true. Every fact check just says that isn't true. As a matter of fact, he was handed something better. He was handed something when he came in. So it's just not true.
Yeah,
But
just not true.
Mahasan Pierce is joining us. But go ahead. I'm sorry. I just wanted to double back to that comment.
Let me deal with that statement about the Republican thing, the original
Mm-hmm.
Republican thing, and
Mm-hmm.
that's a talking point. That's a Republican talking point. That's a Republican brain, switch point, because Republicans were
Mm-hmm.
the party of Lincoln, okay, but there was a
Mm-hmm.
shift.
Mm-hmm.
There was a shift. We can't go from 1861, 2, 3, 4, and then obliterate the whole next 150 years and not see where the shift happened.
Mm-hmm.
Right. Okay. The shift happened with
Mm-hmm.
FDR. The shift happened. And when the shift happened,
Mm-hmm.
then the Democratic Party became the party of the people that made sure that people were well, made
Mm-hmm.
sure people were okay. And that helped us
Mm-hmm.
as a people, because if you remember, we didn't have a whole lot of rights. And even though we have them on the books now, we don't always see them as they should be, but that's neither here nor there. But the point is that
Yeah.
there was a shift. And so don't get hung up on the party of Lincoln, because you got to come a whole 150 years to see what happened to the party of Lincoln. Don't get
Mm-hmm.
bamboozled. Don't get bamboozled, please. Don't get run
Yeah.
amok from some stuff that don't
Yeah.
really.
And Stefan, yeah. And Stefan Jackson says, I was working the same job and same position with Obama. And when Trump got in, I immediately went up 30,000. That's the facts. Well, that's a fact, right? It's not the facts. That was your unique experience. And God bless you, you got that $30,000 bump. But that's not true for most people. And I don't want you to think that that's true for most Black people because one person got a bump. But I can understand you're voting your conscience based on what your experience is. But maybe collectively we're voting what our collective experience is. Maybe what Valencia is espousing, that the party that's for the people is more than just individual ruggedism, right? It's more about a community, a communal responsibility, that if one in the village is not well, if the children are not well, if the education is not well, then we are not well. And so that's where we differ. You know, a lot of people are saying, well, and I guess I could say I, of course, there have been opportunities where there are other brothers and sisters from another mother on the other side of the color who got opportunities that I didn't.
Right.
And there are people where they celebrate mediocrity, and where I am excellent, it doesn't get celebrated because of another color. But that's my personal experience. And what I do is try to reconcile that with the community experience to see, okay, now what is everybody else experiencing, and what do we need to do to move the needle for the community? So that's where I see it a little different, Stefan. The party never changed, and black and white income never decreased since 1962 until Trump. Not true, but we can fact find. Mahasan, thank you for joining us. I'm so glad that you came. And you were saying, I wanted to go back to an earlier point that you were saying, and you also were saying it's a blessing to be in her presence. Yes, we're all Esther Smith fans. I have tried on a few occasions to understand Trump and his ideology. I just can't. So what might be most troubling to you to be able to reconcile? Is there something in this administration that was most troubling to you where you can't seem to reconcile it? And when you're talking to Republicans, you're kind of like, that still doesn't make sense to me.
And the only reason why I'm laughing, because is it just one thing really? The whole—
No, but that's why.
Okay, so for me, in general, he's ridiculous. Just in general, just everything he does is ridiculous. Hold on a second.
Handle that.
I'm sorry.
So you like the commercial? You seen the TikTok video? You on the phone and you? Okay, I got it. Okay.
Okay. And that's an adult that was doing that. Okay, so yeah, no. And then the pandemic, the way he handled the pandemic, and then constantly blame it on other people. Mm-hmm. But sir, you are our president. Mm-hmm. I don't like to call him our president, but he is our president. Mm-hmm. So you didn't handle that well. Mm-hmm. I shouldn't say millions have died. No, that's a lie. Hundreds of thousands have died. Mm-hmm. Millions have been affected. And for you, that's a small number. He said out of his own mouth, and I hate when Republicans say that, oh, they made it look like he said that. No, he said that. He said it is what it is. But when it comes to voting, that same amount, oh, he's in the uproar. Oh, we can't have 1 or 2%. That's too much. Listen, it's ridiculous. Everything about it is ridiculous. It's hypocritical. It's foolish for me to entrust someone who don't have my best interests at heart. And he has made it clear that he does not have my best interests. And when I say I'm talking about myself, my family, my loved ones, and everybody that's attached to me. Amen.
So let me ask you this, Mahasan. Let's say that now, are you? I didn't even ask. Are you single or married?
No, I'm very single. Well, besides my 7-year-old.
Okay. Okay. And so, if a Republican brother, you know, he wants to get with you, beautiful sister, and he's like, but you know, I'm voting for Trump. So, you know, because some of the things that you see Stefan saying, you know, the Democrats are so concerned about us. Why aren't they addressing Black on Black crime or family? Which is a great question, and I'd like to answer it. But this brother comes to you and he looks good, smells good, has a nice job, nice car, seems like he's okay. And then he says, but I'm voting for Trump because, you know, it's been the best salary. I got a $30,000 bump when he got in office, and I've been just doing great ever since. How do you respond to that?
How do I respond to that? My whole thing is, at the end of the day, we as people, if he's a Christian man on top of that, we as Christian folk, we're supposed to love and care for and tend to one another. I might be doing well right now, but if everybody around me is not doing well, that means something is wrong. I can't just look at my little bubble. And if all I'm doing is looking at my little bubble and I'm not caring about my brothers and sisters, well, that's not the man for me. And I don't care if you're Republican, Democrat, or whatever you want to call yourself. If you are only for yourself, there's no way I could be in a relationship with you in the first place, because I mean, I'm with you. So yeah, so yeah, that disturbs me. That disturbs me.
Yeah. And Jay Gerald says his salary went down 30,000 during Bush, but I didn't blame Bush for my decrease. Good point. David Carter says Biden is double ridiculous, and that's facts. Well, share with us some of those factoids for me, sir. Do you have proof of him being a racist, or did the media tell you that? And why does Joe Biden racist comments go unaddressed? Let me ask you a question, Stefan. I feel so bad because I'm not sure I'm pronouncing it correctly. I just want to ask one question. So I'm in human resources. So I'm always, you know, I'm going to be touting diversity, equity, and inclusion probably till Jesus comes back for me, or however that goes. And you are the commander in chief, and you have the power to appoint federal judges. And you don't appoint any, when I say any, I mean any, A-N-Y, Black judges, but you have the power to appoint any judge. And some of the judges you appoint have no litigation experience, no real constitutional law experience, but you appoint them. Is that what you would call coincidence? How do you explain that? How do you explain the characterization of people of color, Mexican people, as rapists? How do you explain that? How do you explain when you characterize people, Haitians and Puerto Ricans, and you basically demoralize them? How do you explain that? What do you call that? And when you say, sure, I'll denounce it, but the Proud Boys, stand back, stand by. How do you explain those things? Are they on the cusp of racist? How do you reconcile that? I can tell you, even before I got to the racist consideration around it, because I believe in this institutional systemic racism, that slave owners made 10 that they liked Black people to get out of them what they needed for capital purposes. So I don't see Trump very different than that. There were roles for African Americans in that plantation system. And today there might still be roles depending on who you are, right?
Absolutely.
But if they never said you are an Nigger, I don't bring myself to say that, but they treated you in a way that reflected that. How would you reconcile? Tell me, how would you reconcile that? And so we could go over many different activities and things that have occurred during this administration. I'm just wondering, how do you reconcile it?
You can't reconcile.
I'm just trying to think.
You can't reconcile what's never.
So when you say, do you have proof of him being a racist? Yeah. When you say, do you have proof of him being racist, what would satisfy you as a proof? I guess is my question. I'm just curious to know that. Angelique
Marcus,
says we need research. Watch, listen. Yes, ma'am.
I said you can't reconcile what's never been conciliatory. Reconcile means to bring it back. It's never been there. So we have to look at, we keep using the word reconcile and people reject it because there's never been a conciliatory relationship. There's never
Wow.
been a discussion about why it is that, if you want to talk about Black on Black crime, you want to talk about, then you got to go all the way back to the bottom of the stem. You got to go back to the root of the stem and how we were pit against each other back in a time when we didn't have any control over what happened in our lives. And when you have that kind of stem, that's why systemic is different than systematic.
All
Systemic,
right.
it is at the core. It's at the foundation of whatever you consider that particular institution to be. It's at the core of it. And so if at the core of it, it's pit them against each other, give them an overseer that's one of them,
Right.
that makes them not trust each other, give them, make their women feel like they're never good enough because he can come get them anytime he wants them and move the man out of the bed in order to do it. When you create a systemic issue, then the bloom continues. You can't, if it's at the root, guess what? You can't hybrid that thing.
Right.
You got to figure out how to yank it up at the root and replant in a different kind of soil. And that's what we have to do.
Amen.
Yeah. And I was using reconcile maybe differently
Oh, I just,
from my days in accounting.
we all do.
Accounting,
Make
making sense of.
and make
Right. I thought
it.
I wanted to, how do you make sense? How do you make sense of that? Then if that's not the case, tell me, how do you make sense of that? And I'm looking at his comments and I think it's, again, I'm sorry if I'm mispronouncing your name. Videos of him saying, making racist statements. I wish I was on the Zoom. Well, the link is in the comments because the words you say, he said is not the actual statement, just edited that way. Okay. So people were saying Senator Harris said super predator. Did she say super predator? Or they were saying one said it in the, so I guess I'm asking the things that I named, if you took just one of them.
He was live.
He appointed, what, 41 federal judges?
Live.
Say it again.
He was live when he said stand back, stand by. He was live on national television.
Yes.
Said that. So
Yes.
that's soundbite. That was an answer.
He was live when he said that. And of course, they say that that's not what he meant, but I don't know if, later he said, well, that's not what I meant, but it is what he said. And so, but he didn't say anything about the judges. He just appointed all white ones. So how am I in there? Or how is my niece who wants to go to law school to become an attorney and then become a judge? What does that say to her? You can't find any Black people that are qualified, not a one, none.
Systemic.
Help me. I just, that's why I'm saying I want to be able to understand your perspective. When we as Black people keep voting Democrat without our situation never improving is by true definition insane. But it did improve at different points.
Clint.
It got better, got worse, it got better, got worse. So
in America.
To characterize 47 years as if Joe Biden was in charge of, he had super authority over the Senate and the House of Representatives for 47 years, that doesn't stand to reason, right? No one person, right, could do that, right? Mm-hmm. But to say that there were not periods when there were Democrats in power where African Americans advanced would say that you are ignoring history. I don't want you to ignore history now. Now, don't get me wrong. It ain't been as great as it could be, right? Equity would be the goal, but we've made some strides, and some of those good strides were under some good Democrats. Some of them were under some Republicans.
You $30,000 more money. which is why you have that job. You could get $30,000 more money because someone who was a Democrat passed a law that made them not be able to discriminate against you because of the color of your skin. That was not a Republican move. That was a Democratic move. And so you are benefiting from that. And so when we look at back to what the question is, when you look at ideology, you got to make a decision what ideology fits your life. And if that's in a household and you got that ideology problem, then maybe you all have to go through this season not really talking to each other about anything and looking at what's more important to you than whatever's going on in this political race and leaving that alone, like we do in our family. I've got a cousin who's a staunch Republican. We don't talk about politics in his presence anymore because we know it's going to cause a problem.
Yeah, that's gonna be tougher, won't you agree, Valencia, if it's your husband of 20-some years. That's a little tougher.
The 20-some years, y'all don't have anything
David Carter says
about other than politics, then you
Right.
got
That's a problem.
They sure should. Yeah, they sure should have a lot more to talk
A
about.
lot
and do,
more.
but
That's a whole nother
do you believe
conversation.
Biden is racist? David Carter says. Kay Harris questioned whether he was a few and ago during her presidential run. Now he's a great guy. Okay, I think that's a valid question. Besides the crime bill, because the crime bill was supported by Black mayors, Black governors, both houses of Congress. Okay, but I hear you. Can you give me some example that you're saying Biden is racist? Because I wanted to double back. Somebody earlier said, I think it was Stefan, said, what has he done for Black on Black crime? Now, again, remember, he's one person in a group of people that have to vote in majority and supermajority, but I hear what you're saying. I want to ask Stefan, what are you and I doing about Black on Black crime? Because that's where I think we can really do some damage. If I, am the gatekeeper for my little block or community, and I get connected with other gatekeepers the block or two over, and then when Ray and Junebug and them are doing whatever it is, because there was a time when I was Juju's age and Junebug's age, there were people like Herbert Holmes and Joe Boterford and Frank Walker who lived on the block. It didn't matter that Herbert Holmes was my father when he wasn't around to say, I'm your father, and this is what you're gonna do.
That's
this
right.
Is what you do here. So if we want to impact Black on Black crime, we could point to the government and say exclusively it's their part, but I think we have a role in changing it. And if we want to just relegate it to the career of somebody who's been in office 47 years, who served among a global group where we never lobbied or petitioned or voted or I would almost say rioted, marched so that we could get some things done. Yeah, riot came out too quickly, so I'm gonna pray about that. So that we could get some things done. I don't know if we should just say it should be Trump or Biden that ends Black on Black crime.
All right.
I'm not saying that doesn't be a lot more. I am highly concerned about Black on Black crime. I'm concerned about sometimes different areas of the city I live in and love of going into those areas. And it's not because I'm fearful of the other people. I'm fearful of people that look like me. So I understand that. But then what am I doing about it?
Exactly.
Or do I say, that's your problem and that's what I'm looking for you to do something about it? Because we can throw money at it, but look at all these underlying causes that are the
that's it. I was about to say that's not the money not
have
gonna
the
help.
propensity to push right? So
Period.
when we say Black on Black crime, does the lack of education have any connection to it? And so is this Betty DeVos somebody that's trying to change that? Did she do something to change the system so that it's better? So I'm trying to follow it because I don't want to snooze anybody. I don't want to unfriend anybody. The day I unfriend you, Jesus might want me to tell you something good. So I don't want to unfriend you. And I certainly wouldn't want to be married to somebody who I couldn't find out, okay, now, why does that make sense to you? I want to,
Right.
but by the same token, Valencia's right. We should be having good sex. I think it would be great sex if I were married. That's not a campaign, but I'm just saying. I think we should have good, stimulating conversation. We should have a great time. And we might just not be able to talk about politics. We might just have to stick to the facts. That would be hard for me because I'm passionate about what's going on,
Right.
right? I'm
Right.
passionate about what I believe in. I'm passionate about this divinity identity within the African American diaspora. So that's going to come up, but I got to find a way not to make it this level where I'm telling my wife, you about to F up a good marriage. I think
Right,
that
that's
would be a problem to say
crazy.
to your wife.
Oh my God. That's crazy.
But that's what happens when we are so passionate that we forget about the real context of our relationships,
That's
right?
why I call the
Right.
Because sometimes we can say things to each other that could be damning, that could be hurtful, that could be hard for somebody to get over, and we don't think about the context of the relationship.
Right. Right.
That's why I say there's pandemics
Let me
going
go to
on in our culture than COVID. And COVID is horrible. But
Mhm.
there are other
Mhm.
pandemics that COVID has unveiled, has literally, revealed to us the core of some
Yep.
pandemic issues that are at our base. And so it's just go on. I know you gotta talk to people. Go forth.
No, I'm just going through the comments. Our senior associate producer is trying to get me to
Yeah.
get back to the topic, and it's on topic, I think.
That's why
I'm getting there. Angelique says, right. Angelique says, I truly believe by the acts and behaviors of the American people, especially Trump supporters in particular, that a mass hypnosis has occurred.
Seriously, I
don't-
feel like
I
that.
don't know. I don't know.
Look, I
Yeah.
feel like that. Like, are y'all
Da-
brainwashed? What's going on?
Yeah, David Carter says our economic conditions are worse than ever. And so, David, I want to ask you that if they're worse than ever, should we vote? If they're worse than ever, should we vote for a change, or should we hope that some change will come under this guy? Stefan says, I don't subscribe to all Trump's rhetoric, but he makes a lot of sense when it comes to all these corrupt politicians. Oh, okay.
Including
He's
himself.
one of
I
them.
just want to ask this one question. I know by now you can tell, who I'm voting for, right? Probably. But if you think that, he is uncovering corruption, I wanted to just find out, why did it take so long for us to see his taxes? Well, when you say corruption and you pay $750 in taxes, did you pay $750? Because I paid more than $750. So I'm just wondering.
The police here.
I'm wondering. I'm just quoting the facts of freedom. Okay. Derek Anderson just joined us. Then why is
Good evening.
We need our own political party, and maybe then we can address the real problems, and desegregation wasn't a great thing. Educating each other on loving each other more regardless to our political differences, our real struggle is within. The crime bill was the most racist bill ever by a politician when you still have men in prison for 25 years ago for nonviolent crimes. Joe Biden or Trump is not a problem for us ourselves. All these failures are controlled by Democrats, and the Republicans don't make policies in Democratic districts. Has Trump done more damage to the Black community than Biden crime bill? So
Yes.
I think that's a great question.
Yes.
I think that's a great question to ask. And I think we'd have to look at some of the facts and some of the underlying causes. I don't think it's just as, forgive me if this lands wrong, it's not as black and white as you think.
That's true.
Arnaldo El Maestro has joined us. Thank you, sir. Leroy Hurd has joined us. Marcus, you have watched any of the videos that the American government has put out on how they are doing so much and are so passionate about the people in the Middle East getting the exact same thing. That's not corruption. And if the tax laws are geared for the rich, then he only took advantage of that, but it's not illegal. Well, how do you know it's not illegal? because we still don't know
We still haven't seen
a heck of a lot regarding the 400 million. So what if we find out that the 400 million is owed to people that he's given positions? Would that be corrupt? Would that be illegal? And so how do you know that, Stefan? You see what I'm saying? How do you know? And I guess I'm wondering, if there's no fire, then why you hide what you hiding? No, it's some smoke too. Okay. Yes, and they've been hypnotized and they need to be deprogrammed. Okay. Kamal Williams, our associate producer, has joined us from North Richland Hills, Texas. Thank you so much.
No problem. Good evening, everyone.
Before you chime in, Stefan, I just want you to know, you say he's not obligated nor you to expose your taxes, but I'm not the president, number one. Number two, I think they went to court on this matter. I think they ruled on that. So that's outside of me or you, regardless of what we think. And number three, every sitting president before him did. So tell me what we doing? What we doing? Okay. All right. Okay. So Kamal, you're married. And what if your beautiful wife said, I'm voting for Trump? How does that conversation go?
I would think it's a joke, first of all. I would think that would be pretty funny. I wouldn't, if she did, that would be her business. I would hope that she wouldn't. My thing is, to me, he's just a regular Republican president. I don't think he's done anything really different than any other Republican president has ever done. My issue is that how he treats people outside of the office as a person. Republican president is going to be Republican president, as is a Democratic president. It's going to be a Democratic president. There's always the same, well, not always the same, but a similar agenda per each party. So if you're looking at them as what they do as a president, that's not going to change. That's just who they are and what they do. But in terms of how they treat people outside of the Oval Office and how they treat people in general, is what is my biggest issue. You can go all the way back to him being a slumlord and taking out a full-page ad saying that I want to get bring back the death penalty immediately for the Central Park Five who weren't even guilty at the time, who were railroaded into that case, and how he's treated people throughout the years. And to me, if you're a man and you're voting for Trump and you're married, something's wrong. And here's why. I go back to 4 years ago when he says you can grab them by their private parts. So, okay, take your wife, your daughter, your sister, your aunt, or any female member that's your family member, line them up, tell them to take off their underwear, and go up there and tell them, let Mr. Trump grab them. You gonna do that? If you're gonna do that, let him be your president. If you're not gonna let him do that, then he shouldn't be your president. That is assault. So if you want to let the president of the United States assault your family member, someone that you claim to love, then to me that's a problem. And for any man who would allow, would do that because he's done, or any woman who would say it's okay for him to be president knowing that's what he's done and heard out of his own mouth, to me, that's where I would draw the line. That would be my biggest issue.
Got it. So you see a moral component of it, even
Correct.
though, the white evangelicals think that there's a moral component the other way. You think it's more the moral stuff that he hasn't done versus the things that he
I just think it's funny how the evangelical community has just looked so far over that. And to have a first lady who has shown herself inside and out literally to the entire world. If the only thing they could say about it was that it was artful, and they complained about Michelle Obama having her arms out in a dress. So that sort of thing is that hypocrisy is just outrageous to me.
Yeah, and I think that is just another form of code. It's another form of racism to me. So I don't just see it as hypocrisy. I think the Black people always have to be a step above. Again, mediocrity is fine for them. A reality show host is fine. I don't know where in the world you would hire a reality show host to run the free world. But for a white man, you can do it. A Black man has to prove that he was born here. He's got to go through the extra mile. And I think that's this systemic racism that we've kind of been talking about, probably more subtly than we ever, but we ever talking about. So,
Can I say,
and just before I go to the comments and to you guys, you know, in my mind though, Kamal, it's also putting people like Betsy DeVos in place over education, knowing that she's going to dismantle it, and dismantling education without a real plan. You got to know it's going to impact Black people, right?
Dismantling education and
that are
healthcare.
made. Yeah, the moves that are made, you got to know it's going to disproportionately impact a certain people. So to me, that is as bad as the moral stuff, even though you're right. From when I heard that he was talking about grabbing that sealed it for me. But I also know not only does he not have a track record, he's aligning himself with people that have poor track records, right?
Right.
And so all
that's,
of the things that relates, pardon me?
To me, that's just
it hasn't always been that for every Republican.
No,
it hasn't
but they
always
do it
been that.
They put people in place that actually have the credentials that do it still the same way.
Well, this is what I was going to say anyway, because I want to get back just for a second to that whole concept of corruption. And I agree with you on some of that, Kamal. 76 people indicted under Nixon, 26 indicted under Reagan, 215 people indicted in the Trump administration. And you want to talk about corruption? There's corruption across the board.
Yeah.
From day one, literally, before they even took the oath of office.
I'm going to go back to the comments. David Kerr says, do his taxes make any difference to Black people? Or just one Black person at least? Yes. Nobody is going to call the IRS and tell them I didn't pay enough. Here's a check. Well, I'm concerned that he didn't pay, a lot of taxes. And I'm concerned that he has $400 million of debt. See, I'm concerned about that because who do you owe? And how are you repaying them?
How much of it do we have?
Mr. President. Okay. Y'all need to listen to that man. If you personally involved, then that's your arguments, but economically it's not even worth the conversation. Well, I think it's worth the conversation. In the debate, he would not admit that he was handed a recovery. He just said it was the slowest recovery, but he was handed a gift. And here we are today. So economics, no. Multiple bankruptcy filings, no. Let's be real about what we're saying about whether or not we have seen this economic surge as a result of his leadership. He was handed a gift.
Wall Street is not Main Street.
Mm-hmm.
Wall Street's not Main Street.
Okay, because the church is corrupt. Also, we all need to grow up. That probably seems to me that you might have been triggered, and I don't want to trigger you, but that wasn't my intent to trigger you. When you say we all need to grow up, I don't know. I'm not sure how to respond to that except to say, let's grow up together. We probably need to grow up together. Awesome. And, if the church has corruption, I think what we can look forward to is that God, through Jesus, who started the church, said he will let the wheat and the tare grow up and he will take care of that.
Right.
And so it's a little bit different. We're the people who take care of the president. If there's corruption or something this is a democracy, not a theocracy, right? The church is really supposed to be a theocracy, right? And so God is the ultimate one who says, you know what I decided? I'm gonna let the wheat and tare grow up together. I'm gonna let the good grow up with the bad, and then I'll separate them. That'll be my job. So even if we want to take on God's role in identifying, he really gets to do the separating. And your identification is just your absence of grace in the situation, because except for grace, there go you and I. There's the opportunity for anybody to be corrupted. So we can all grow together. And I'm sorry that you were triggered by that. It feels like maybe you were triggered to say we all need to grow up, and we probably all can grow, but let's grow together. Let's do that. Okay.
And
Angelique, don't Don't tell him to go on with his money. We want Stefan to feel like he is a part. We can have disagreements, just like this couple in the inbox. We don't want them to break up. We don't want them to get divorced. We don't want her to say, you said the F word to me. We don't want that to happen. We want them to have the perspective of, I'm trying to understand where you're coming from. And even if it doesn't make sense to me at the end of the day, we have more skin in the game than our political beliefs, even though they run deep. Okay.
Can I tell a quick story in terms of like some history in terms of other countries with elections and backgrounds and marriages? True story. My name is.
Before you go to the story, hold on, because Jay Gerald is signaling me that we going away from where we should go. But
no, this speaks right back to the main topic.
Hold on, Kamal. Really, hold on. David Carter says, "Oh, Stefan, the link is in there if Stefan wanted to join us." And David, I invited you too, but it doesn't have to be all Democratic. Angie Wilson has joined us. Man, his policies are totally different than Obama across the board. Yeah, I believe they are. Yeah. It's bankruptcy to poor people, but reorganizing the big business people. Oh, okay. Thanks, David. Saying that we live in a nasty world full of deception. Oh, okay. Obama suffered many a disappointing season as a result of the color of his skin. Trump happens to have the issue of skin color. That's why the Democratic Party calls believing in religion too much is being deep into the dogma. Okay. No, I didn't tell. Okay, very good. The economy was great until COVID-19 for a year after Obama. You have to give Trump some credit. I give him this credit. He got a number of folks brainwashed to follow him, even if something happens to him. I'll give him that credit. He has some gravitas or charisma that people recognize as such, that he was able to persuade people. I think that's powerful. And I'll give him that. I will not give him as the commander-in-chief that he's made good policy decisions and that he's put people in place who know how to. I can't give him that, but I hear you. I wasn't mad. The growing up comment was referring to we all know the priest. You're gonna have to. So the link is in the comments. Jay Gerald, help Stefan to join us. Okay, come on, tell us your brief story.
It's really, I'll go as fast as I can. When I was coaching volleyball, I coached a couple of young ladies whose parents from the country of Kenya, and my name is Kamal Opia, which is a Luo, and I can't think of the other name of the other type of a warring tribe. But every so often they have the elections. And there was a couple they told me about where the gentleman was from Luo and the other one was from the other tribe, and they literally had to separate during the election time because they had such differing opinions, but they loved each other enough to come back together after the elections because they couldn't stay together because they were arguing so much. They had to separate during the time of elections, just knowing and understanding, okay, we have our separate ideologies, but we love each other to be together when the elections were over. I did that quickly.
You did. That's a great story. That's a great story. And it did bring us right back to the topic at hand. And you have to know what's important. Like I was about to say, Kamal, like Marcus said, if your marriage is important to you, you're going to do what you have to do to get through. This politics, we're only talking about this during this season for the most part. But if you're married, you still got a whole life together, right? So what's important?
Mm-hmm. Good point. Great point. Valencia, did you went on camera? Okay.
I'm back.
Okay, very good. And Stefan, you're welcome to join us. Yes.
My concern is, and I know that Jay Gerald is probably right, that we're probably not helping the person we are supposed to be helping tonight because we've gone on this tangent, and when Stefan gets on here, it's going back there. So let's for a minute just deal with the fact that this couple has to make some really hard decisions about how they navigate through this next 2 weeks. I mean, and whatever comes on the other side of it, and make a decision, as Kamal's story, that when this election is over, it's over, and it's over for us in this household. Whatever it is, we get back to being who we are, because if our 22, almost 23-year-old marriage is subject to dissolution, to dissolving over a political race, then we got some other issues. And so sometimes he has to ask yes and just say, I'm gonna take a beat, I'm gonna be still. Take a moment, let that go until we can, so that we can move on as a family, because my investment in this family is more important to me than my investment in even my ideology. Because when I said the two shall become one, that meant something. So I wanted to get back to the issue for a second. So
okay. And Stefan, thank you for, am I pronouncing it correctly? Is it Stefan?
It's Stephen.
Stefan, okay.
Stephan.
I had a brother
Like
named
Stephen Curry.
Stephan, just spelled it a little differently. Okay, welcome, thank you. I want to give you some FaceTime and airtime. So tell us what you were sharing, some of what you were sharing in the comments.
Yeah, it's basically definitely a lot of misconceptions. I agree. I don't get really mad. What I was saying about we need to grow up about the church. I mean, we have to quit playing ourselves like there's secrets about. I mean, there were indictments in all 50 states at one time about just molestation out of the church. I mean, we have to start learning to grow up. I'm not a fan of people with rhetoric, so I never was a Donald Trump fan. See, I found out in 2015, I'll start betting, because we're not really intelligent enough to understand that this is a system, and it doesn't matter which party is in control. We have a system that is designed to sustain itself, and we have to pay attention. And the reason I say we be insane by Democratic is because now we have to start realizing that we have to empower ourselves economically so we can invest in ourselves. We're not going to get the investment into the Black community from neither party, not Trump. Trump is just a better way of keeping our freedoms right now, because the bigger the government gets, the less of a chance we're going to have to do it. And that's just simple. We can play games with each other, but our biggest problem is within. Our biggest problem is within. We can't have a Black movement that it won't address Black on Black crime and us not being a family unit. If we don't get them two problems straight, doesn't matter what they do, we're going to continue to have the same problems. There's no use of us playing ourselves like this. We can have political differences. That don't mean nothing. You can like Trump or not dislike Trump. My man who was just talking about the way Trump acts, that's the only argument you can basically have. And that's true. I understand that, because that was my main reason to not ever even liking him. But when you start looking at how I live now, I'm going to tell you about the 30,000. Everybody's job isn't like mine. I worked at the airport. I supervised. I was a SkyCap, so my job is based strictly on the economy.
Yes.
Nothing else.
Can you
my
hear me?
Position didn't change. Yeah, I can hear you. I can hear you.
Okay. You were saying, Kamal was saying about the president's behavior, but what about the other things that I mentioned? What about the appointing of judges? That might not matter to you.
That does matter. That does matter.
But as a Black person,
man, I don't agree with all
matters
his
to me.
moves. I don't agree with all his moves, but Obama didn't appoint no Black ones neither.
Okay.
I mean, this is a system.
That's not true.
We go. That's what I mean by growing up. We have to realize there's a system.
I'm gonna have to pull you up a list. But Stephan, you can't say that he didn't appoint any either, and then I'll show you some. Then what will you say?
Well, no, I'm not talking about.
Right,
I'm not talking about federal
judges.
Then? I ain't talking about federal judges. I'm talking about to the Supreme Court. He still left a ton of vacancies too. I mean, that's fine. In actuality, this is a game that they play. He shouldn't have never left them seats
on the federal.
Well, he left a lot of seats vacant. Obama did, man. Them just the facts. He left a lot of vacant seats.
Federal seats. Not Supreme Court seats.
Right, not Supreme Court. Right. See what you don't understand.
And he could have rushed.
We have a system. Huh?
He could have rushed into, Like-
You're breaking up. That's why I can't hardly hear you.
go ahead.
I think we're having some technical difficulties a little bit. That's what it is. I couldn't hear you. See, like something like it's muted on there.
Okay,
Like,
can you hear me now?
I can hear you, but you're going in and out. So I only hear parts of what you're saying. So I got to almost try to interpret.
Okay, let's make sure that we connected good. Hold on one second.
See, like right now, and it's pausing. But it was doing that when I was on there, man. Sometimes the reception gets bad on somebody's end.
Can anybody hear
All right,
me?
is that
I
any
know we
better?
got quiet.
Is that any better? Can you hear me?
I can hear you, Marcus. Can you hear me?
I can hear you.
I can hear you and Kamal.
Okay, very good.
And I can hear all three of y'all.
Okay, very good. All
I
right,
can hear all three of y'all.
okay. So yeah, I was speaking more to,
I almost seem like it's my mic just doing that.
okay. Well, I'm just trying to clarify because I wanted to give you some time to respond. You were making some, points in the comments, and I just wanted to give you the opportunity to respond to those that you were making.
Can I comment on the
See,
judges?
right? Yeah, he just cutting out. When it comes to me, it's just cutting out.
Can
Yeah,
I comment
I can't.
before we?
I can hear you now. Valencia wanted to comment on the judges, so go ahead, Valencia.
The judge vacancies,
No,
vacancies that were left were because they sat on Mitch McConnell's desk because he refused to bring them to the Senate. So I'm saying when we make blanket statements about what was left, I just wanted us to understand that because there's those three divisions of our government that no matter what he does, that if the legislature doesn't do their job, then that doesn't get done. So I just wanted that to be clear for anybody.
I totally agree, and I know exactly what you're talking about. But I always go back to the one point. I look at Obama as a bad president. I just tell you that Obama just got into a situation to where our politics are above the presidential level. We just don't want to realize that, but it's just above the presidential level. They play the Senate. The Senate is the real game. That's the real game, is the Senate. So Obama never got the people in there that he wanted to because he never had. But when he first got to be president, he had Democratic House and Senate. See, people never want to admit the fact that half the Democrats was against Obama too. You got to think these people hated him for winning. They hated him for winning. So we have politics that are really above the president. I don't think Trump's a good person. Him winning is just a testament of how bad a job that they was really doing as politicians. And we can say whatever we want, but he really should have never had a chance to be the president.
That part.
Yeah, and is that indicative because we had such bad politicians? Is that what that's indicative of to you?
Them never really making the people prosper, man. It should not be a case to where, regardless to how we feel about Trump, the facts and the numbers are just what they are, man. It was the lowest unemployment ever in the history before COVID, and we was making the most money we ever made. Doesn't matter what the case was. And when you say pop, that's what I meant to tell you, man. Please don't say that's Barack and them O'Connell. It's not. He does everything totally different. He deregulates. First of all, he cuts government. That's what cutting taxes and everything is about. We do have to learn economics, though. We do have to learn that.
We do.
And this is what cutting taxes is about. We need to learn that.
And we have to learn institutional racism and
deregulate
on economics.
Yeah, it's not. I'm not saying that doesn't exist. I know that exists.
But if you know that exists,
a system that was designed. First of all, we are not in the Constitution. We were not. It was not written for us. We were 3/5 of humans.
What I'm saying is, you have to understand that if the system economically is rigged and steeped in racism, you have to understand that as well. That's what I'm trying to tell you. So when you say we have,
I understand this. But it doesn't stop the bottom line of what's going on, man. We can't dwell on the system being so bad that we just try to say we can't work on the system, because we can't do nothing without it. We can't do nothing without the system. We have to work the system. This is what it is. We are working to make the system better. That's why we get into politics. This is why we try to come up with our own ideas and interject them into the system. But the system was never designed for us to prosper. We were not considered a real human being to these people. You have to understand that. Not the Republican nor the Democrat.
Okay.
We were 3/5 of human.
And so is it sufficient for you to get in the system and work it, or get in the system?
Yes, I think it's sufficient to get in the system and get into politics. And I do know it's systemic racism, but the problem.
Stephen, I got a question that I'm asking you. The question I'm asking you is, do you think that it's important to get in the system and work it, or get in the system and change it?
Well, you can only get in the system to change. You have to work it to change it. You can't just go in there and abruptly change it. They're not going to let you do it. We have politicians, man, how do you think they get to campaign on us about the same issues every 4 years, every 2 years, the same issues? You know why? They're not getting them done, because we have a system that is designed that it takes both parties to agree. If both the parties don't agree, then we're not going to get it done. Doesn't matter if they got a good idea on the Republican side or if they got a good one on the Democratic side. As long as the two powers don't agree, then there's nothing. What do you think about the stimulus? They're not arguing over giving the money to the people. They're arguing over something that we don't even get to know.
They're arguing over giving the money to the people because one side.
What is the amount? It's the amount. I know the amount.
One says no stimulus. One says no stimulus and $300 for unemployment. The other says $600 and $1,200 for stimulus. So where they're, so one side doesn't stimulus at all.
But I understand there's still a negotiation. You understand what I'm saying? There's two different parties that want two different things, and there's no way that it can get done without them coming to an agreement on getting it done, because the whole point of the matter is the same thing with us. We all have different opinions right now. Mm-hmm. Still shouldn't neglect the fact that we supposed to care for each other. We supposed to love for each other, watch out for each other, make sure that still things come, because we still have to come to an agreement. It's just like being in a relationship. Well, do you think that y'all gonna be just alike? No, y'all opposite sex for once off. First of all, you're totally different right off the bat.
I'm glad you brought it back to our topic. I love that.
Yeah, because when you look at a relationship, you have to judge it like that, because you have to compromise.
And so, Stephen, are you single or married?
No, I'm single.
Okay. So
at the moment I'm single. I don't know how long.
And so if you were married and your spouse had the opposing side, what I think I hear you saying is that you'd have to work through it, because the love that you have for each other would be greater than any politics. Is that correct?
I'm finna really have you tripping when I tell you this and this. And now, first of all, I do not tell lies. So listen to what I'm finna tell you.
I don't believe you.
My nephew worked for Tim Kaine, man. My whole family's Democratic, man. My little sister is the assistant superintendent of Arlington District Schools, man. That me having my personal views on politics is nothing. Let me tell you something. I'll show you what I care about if you mess with them. Let me tell you that. Politically, no, we different, but we supposed to be. We're people. We're people. We have to realize that we're people regardless to what we believe in. Ideology don't have nothing to do with love, the respect for one another, the want to see each other advance. We're only supposed to be arguing over these ideas to make it better for ourselves.
Okay. So I think your answer to my question is yes. If you were married.
That don't mean nothing, man. My kid's mother don't like, I got a few kids' mothers none of them like Trump. None of them.
Okay.
Well, that's cool.
I'm so glad that you came on to share with us. I'm very happy to meet you. I'm so glad that you came to share with us your perspective.
But I think what you're talking about is what I really be trying to get us to understand is, man, we have to love one another. All these politics and all of that, don't get me wrong, I hate to tell people this. A lot of times it's only designed to keep us apart. Is to keep us from loving, because as long as we love, the energy and positivity from love will overcome. How do you expect for God to even put his influence if we're not putting the energy to contact God with. You contact God with love. You don't get it through hate.
All
You
right.
don't get God through hate. So to me, you have to love each other. We have to learn to put all this other stuff around. What hurts me the most is when we complain about how Trump talk, and then we support our rappers, and our rappers is influencing our kids to be the worst kids you can possibly be. Drug, smoke, kill each other, and it's very popular, and we'll make them rich, and we make them out of heroes, and then we'll turn right around and say Trump is our problem. It's not. Our problem is within,
That's a
and
good
it's the
point.
refusal to love each other, man. That's why we can kill each other like that.
It's a great point.
We're actually
That's a good point.
not having passion towards each
I'm
other.
actually agree
Yeah,
with
Yeah,
him.
we
it's a
don't have
great
passion
point.
towards one another right now.
I guess where I disagree slightly with that, I agree that we should have passion, but I don't think that excludes who is in the office. So
Right.
Trump is a part of that, but I certainly agree with you. To the extent
Reinforcement.
that
It's reinforcement.
we definitely have to do work with them, but there's some work without that we need to do
Yeah.
as well. But
Yeah,
I
that reinforcement.
honor your point and hear your point as well.
Oh, of course, but we can only, but we need to, but I think that it's much easier to go after all this systemic stuff if we move in unison. Man, one thing about with the King movements and all of that, you look at that, you didn't have a divided people like that between the Black people.
Well, you
We
did.
weren't divided people. We were
Well, we
moving
were.
in unison.
Well, you
We're
did.
not moving in unison.
You did, but
We did.
Well, we have always had that problem, but not as bad as it is now.
Yeah,
It is
yeah.
outrageous.
Yeah, it's just more overt, right? Because everything is in your face. A whole entire convention did not back him. A whole entire Black convention did not back him. So it was great division during that time, a lot of division during that time, but that wasn't as widely publicized
Well, it was.
today.
You're right.
Okay.
Well, I'm not even talking about the division far as towards the movements. I'm talking about far as just the Black on Black violence. We have an extremely lot of Black on Black violence.
But
and it's to the point where we're letting that small percentage stop us from being moving as a people, not individually, because we do see a lot of Black people excel individually, but we're not moving as a unit.
But the Black on Black violence that you're seeing, and then Valencia is going to jump in here. The Black on Black violence that you're seeing has all these underlying causes. So you got to think about it's not just Black on Black violence alone. It's poverty.
Right.
It's all of these other things.
It's a lot of things. It's a lot of things.
Valencia.
Having a bucket mentality.
Yep. So Valencia, go ahead.
That too.
My man, say it again, brother.
come
I
out.
need my man.
Craft in a bucket mentality.
Perfect.
Okay,
The mentality,
Go ahead,
man.
Valencia.
but let me just say,
Yeah, man. We hear
Hold
all
on, Stephen. Hold on, Stephen. Go ahead, Valencia.
we are products of what we're taught. And I think if we got to get to the deconstruction of this thing before we can reconstruct it, we got to deconstruct, which means that we don't talk about what we do on the surface. What we do on the surface is real, but it comes from somewhere. That's why we got to get and deconstruct what's at the core. I agree with you about love, but you can't love others. The Bible says what? Love your neighbor as you love what?
Yourself.
Yourself.
But if you have an issue with loving yourself, how are you supposed to love somebody?
Love somebody else. That's right.
So there's the core of this thing is the problem. Is that we're looking at the surface and we're looking at what it looks like on the surface. And, we get down a little shallow, get down about, 3 or 4 inches into the dirt. And we talk about, what we find there. I'm talking about deep depth into what the core of this thing is back from 1619. I'm back here. I'm back 401 years.
I'll go deeper than you. I wish y'all look at some of my videos. I get super deep on them. No, it's actually 1582, the introduction of the Gregorian calendar.
Correct. You're correct. But I'm talking about Jamestown. I'm talking about America.
This was part of, that's how that started. It was when it started, when they changed it. That was whole part of the whole part of their taking over the Black mind. It was putting us on a whole new timeline. We got on.
I got where you're coming from. I'm saying that when I'm talking about just specifically, it starts at Jamestown when they came over as indentured servants, and that flipped because they figured out how they could exploit. It's been gangster from day one. And so when you're raised by gangsters, what do you know how to do? Be a gangster, because that's all we've known is gangsterism.
Sweetheart, I'm 100% with you. I'm 100%. I keep telling everybody, man, you don't know, man, let me tell you, I got something that I play with us with. I call it Master Bedtime Stories. And I tell them, I say, man, as sad as it is to say, you don't know nothing that Master ain't taught you, because first of all, they cut you off from your whole history. Boy, everything you learned is what Master told you happened. You don't know if it happened or not. We go by a code that Master taught us, even from the language and everything else, whether we want to believe it or not. And the core of it is man, when they came here, they never had good intentions, period. And it starts from the Gregorian calendar. It was 1582, and they changed the Gregorian calendar, put us on. In actuality, on the Egyptian calendar, this is year 6100, man, or 6200, something like that. But we're not on the right timeline. This is what they put in. This is because they were coming. This is like the great experiment.
Okay, so Stephen, thank you for that. I'm going to let NJ Akbar. Thank you so much for joining. We're almost to the close of our show, but I thought I would let you come in.
I appreciate you, man, too. Thank y'all. I appreciate y'all.
Have a good one. Thank you. Good night.
Well, I'm gonna stay on, but I'm not gonna talk no more. I just want to listen because I do enjoy this. I love hearing minds.
Well, fantastic.
Yeah, I want to hear the minds. Yeah, I love hearing the minds. So I'm gonna put mine on mute too. So y'all have a good one, and I appreciate y'all.
All right, thank you.
Stay and listen.
Okay, Dr. Akbar, am I saying it correctly?
Very close. It's Akbar, but we'll take it.
Okay.
This is my brother, ladies and gentlemen.
Okay, thank you.
Our much younger brother.
Yeah.
Okay, even though we're almost at the end, I wanted to give you the opportunity to respond, because I see in the comments I want to address the Black on Black violence issue.
Yeah, so one, I want to say this has been a really good discussion so far. But what has happened to our society is they have continued to place campaigns to propaganda so that we can continue to fight within ourselves. Black on Black crime is one of those major campaigns of propaganda to divide us. If you look at statistics, people kill and hurt people who they live close by. When you have created redlining in neighborhoods where only Black people can live in one part of the neighborhood and then white people can live in the other part, and then you see, oh, well, the crime in this neighborhood is only committed by white people, and this crime in this neighborhood is only committed by Black people. That's because they created the system to be that way. And so I just want to say, we as Black people need to stop feeding into the narrative of Black on Black crime. We need to talk about crime in general, but then more importantly, we need to talk about how do we break down the system. And I know Sister Valencia was talking about this, and I just want to give her a nod to the comment she made about going deep. We tend to look at the surface, and we tend to get distracted by the surface, and that's how we get divided. We have to go to the root, and the root isn't anybody who looks like us. The system was built by people who don't look like us, and it's going to be maintained by people who don't look like us unless we come together and fight the system. Part of fighting the system, and I'll end on this, is taking on your political activism voice. We all have a voice that we can activate. And one way of that is by voting. The other way is to actually get engaged and get in the process yourself. You can run for office yourself and begin to make change. You can also encourage your friends to run for office and help them while they're running and or in office. And so there's many things you can do. You can advocate for your state legislature, your school boards, your city councils. There's a lot that you can do, but sitting on the sidelines complaining about black on black crime, which was made up by them to diffuse and confuse us, is not going to help the situation.
Okay, thank you for that. I appreciate you coming and stopping through. I do appreciate you very much. We are at 10:19, and so just to double back to our inbox topic, what we're hearing from most people that are responding is that you should have more skin in the game relative to your love relationship than your political beliefs. Even though for many of us, our political and religious beliefs run deep, our love for self and others should run more deeply.
That's right.
I want to thank all of you for joining us. I hope that you will click share this content widely. Again, next Friday, October 30th, Valencia Etner and 3 other angels in our Love and Stuff community will be presenting our first online paid event. It's called She's Cooking Something, and you're going to learn a little bit more than a recipe. You're going to learn some ways that you might take what's on your table and prepare for your life, what you need to have to live the very best life that you can. So look out for the information that will be coming out tomorrow. It will hopefully be on all of our social media platforms, but we're debuting our first paid online event, and what better way to do it than with 4 of the staples in our Love and Stuff community. So I appreciate that. Looking forward to it. Mama V, as we call her in the Love and Stuff community, along with the others. Share it widely. If you haven't followed us yet, go to the Love and Stuff page. If you're watching on the Marcus R. Holmes page or YouTube events, go to the Love and Stuff page and click follow and join us on the gratefulness journey every day. It's been a great night. Thank you everyone for coming.